Tani Beishamai Omrim. Beishamai says, "Lo'echo zav porushim zav ha'ma'aretz." A zav who is who is a Talmid Chacham from the caste which does keep the halachas of Tumah and Tara should not eat with a zav who's an Amoritz, even though they're both tamei now, right? Beisil matir and Beisil permits this practice. Mata main the Beisil. What's the logic of Beisil? The logic of Beisil is obvious. Zezav is Zezav. Right now they're both tamei, so what's the point of keeping them apart? Mata main the Beishamai. What's the logic of Beishamai? Should misragim will be made to muscle. If you let them eat together now, they'll get together again when they're when the parush, the person's normally rigorous and also Tumah Tara, they'll get together when he's tar as well, and as a result his stuff will become tummy. Once they become too friendly, so in terms of their eating together, so then they'll eat together even on other occasions when it will be extremely to the detriment of the person who keeps Tumah Tara, obviously. Is that clear?
Yeah, I was thinking even more so that maybe he doesn't want them to mix even if they're both.
No, I don't think so, because they're both Jewish here. I don't think that's there's so much a problem. But the problem is that he's going to become to have Raya Beisil's Matir, right? It's only Beishamai is Machmir. So I don't think it has to do with some other overtone. Maybe.
It just won't be as Machmir as Tumah.
Right, he won't be as rigorous in avoiding the potential Tumah. Rabbi Chia mefakid l'Rav, Rabbi Chia's command Rav, his nephew, Inat yochel mechol kol shata b'chulin b'tara echol. If you can eat the entire year chulin in a state of tara, eat it. Milav, and if not, today achil shivas yomin min shata. At least 7 days a year you should keep Tumah Tara. Now this is the source to be more machmir on halacha between in Aseres Mechuvah, because these 7 days are the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Okay, Rosh Hashanah obviously you're more machmir because Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur you don't eat, so at least be machmir on the 7 days. True, this time it's Gedalia, right? Some Gedalia doesn't count either, but that's just referring to the 7 days in the middle. Okay, mikan, from the concept of diligence in maintaining separation from all sorts of possible tumah, Kana Pinchas ben Yor Omer, Pinchas ben Yor said, Zrizus, diligence, maybe Nekius brings a person to cleanliness from sin. Nekius, cleanliness from sin, Mevili de Tara brings a person to purity. Tara, purity, Mevili de Kedusha brings to sanctity. Kedusha, sanctity, Lidei Anova leads to humility. Anova, humility leads Lidei Yiraschet to the fear of sin. Yiraschet, fear of sin, leads Lidei Ruach HaKodesh, leads to divine influence. Ruach HaKodesh, divine influence, leads Lidei Chasidus, leads a person to piety. Chasidus Lidei Tchias HaMesim. Piety leads a person to the resurrection. Tchias HaMesim Lidei Eliyos Zichrono Livracha. The resurrection leads a person to Elio HaNavi. Now, or the Elio meaning the Geula, the redemption. Now, it's interesting because in the Bavli this appears as well. In the Bavli, the highest Madrega of the personal Madregos is Ruach HaKodesh. But here, Ruach HaKodesh is a notch below Chasidus. Okay? So here you need actually Ruach HaKodesh to become a Chassid. Which is the more Chassidish Gemara, the Bavli or the Yerushalmi? What? You would be right. Because Yerushalmi holds you need Ruach HaKodesh to get to Chasidus, whereas the Bavli holds you need Chasidus get to the Ruach HaKodesh. But so therefore the Yerushalmi clearly holds that you have to have first that divine inspiration to get to Chasidus. Whereas, so that means it's like Chassidim holds.
Chasidus is a higher level.
Right, Chasidus is a higher level because Chasidus requires first to have a connection to Hashem Dveikus in order to become a true Chassid. Whereas the Bavli holds, no, the Dveikus is the highest Madrega. First you have to be a perfect person. I was just reading that in a certain book, that the big difference between the pre-Chassidic and the post-Chassidic theology. So in pre-Chassidic theology, did I tell you this last week? I don't think I told you this. is a very good word. This guy says. He says that before Chassidus, so the highest madrigal is called a Chassid, and you had to be a tzaddik before you got to be a Chassid, right? A tzaddik is a person who's battles their Yetzer Hara and overcomes it. A Chassid is a person who's no longer battling Yetzer Hara but has overcome the Yetzer Hara and now is in a level of Lifnei Mishras Hadin, extraordinary piety above and beyond, because they've gotten beyond all earthly matters. That was the classic way of defining tzaddik and chassid for thousands of years. Along came the Chassidim, and they turned everything on its head. By Chassidim, the Pashto Yidden are called Chassidim. The Rebbes are called tzaddikim. And he writes, this fellow, that it makes sense within the movement, because a chassid is somebody who's davik in Hashem, because he's so perfect. By the Chassidim, they held that dveikus in Hashem is the beginning of the path, like the Yerushalmi. The Ruach HaKodesh brings a personally day Chassidus. So therefore, a chassid, which is associated, a term attributed to dveikus, associated with dveikus, became the term for the beginning, because you start with dveikus, and then through the dveikus you achieve very high madrigas to become a tzaddik. So things turn 180 degrees from before the advent of Chassidus to Chassidus. Again, before Chassidus, dveikus was the pinnacle. That's what you strove to, and you perfected your character and your morality and your ethics and your observance until you were zochet to dveikus. By Chassidim, you start out with dveikus, with a niggin, with tish, right, with mashke, and then from dveikus you come to all the high madrigas afterwards. So that's what you were saying, that the Yerushalmi, which puts Ruach HaKodesh before Chassidus, is really about Chassidish type approach. That you need the dveikus, which is implied by Ruach HaKodesh, to get to the higher madrigas. Whereas the Bavli, which put Ruach HaKodesh at the end, is like the Misnagdim, or the pre-Chassidic approach, which is that you need to have first to have the Chassidus to be perfect in your avodas Hashem, and then afterwards you get to Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, very good. Now we prove this all from Psukim. This whole order. Zrizas lidei Nikias. How does Zrizas bring to Nikias? Diligence to cleanliness. Vikila. It says when Aaron completes the avodah, which he did diligently, v'kiper, then afterwards he achieves kapara, and kapara means, of course, cleanliness from sin. Nikias, cleanliness, brings a person to tara, to purity. How do we know that? Right? The Kohen should atone for the woman. I think this is... What part should we read? Is this a double parsha in Chutzos this week? I think it is, right? That's here in Mitzvah, right? Yeah. Right, so this is parsha. Anyway, with this is parsha. In Parshas Tazria. What? The last week in Israel. Right. Yeah, we don't catch up till Shavuos, though, after Shavuos, though. Zrizas lidei is Zrizas lidei. So I'm so sorry. V'chiper la kohen v'tohera. Right. First the kohen's mechaper on her. That's cleanliness, and then tara comes afterwards. Right. Tara lidei kedusha. Purity brings to sanctity. V'tiaro v'kidsho. First you do tara, then you do kedusha. Kedusha lidei anova. Sanctity brings to humility. Kiko amar Hashem ram v'nisa. So too said God, high and mighty. Shochein Ad, who dwells in eternity. V'kadosh Shemo, and holy is his name. Marom v'kadosh eshkon, I will dwell in the high and holy places, and then I will dwell also as Takovi Shvaruach, with those who are downtrodden and oppressed. So therefore, Kedusha is a lower madrega than Anova, because Hashem goes from the holiest regions to the most degraded regions. By the way, people, this is totally off on a tangent, but people misprint. 99 out of 100 people misread when it says in davening, Shochenad Marom V'Kadosh Shmo. It's Shochenad, comma, Marom V'Kadosh Shmo. All right. Shochein ad Marom Kadosh Shemo. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Okay? People go Shochein ad Marom Kadosh Shemo. That's incorrect. Right. Shochein ad like Lolam Void. Shochein ad is right. So that's his pasuk here. Shochein ad Shochein ad Kikom Hashem Ram Nisa Shochein ad V'Kadosh Shemo. Right? This is really the phrase in davening is a contraction of this pasuk. So it's a big it's a mistake people make. Does it have a comment there at all? Yeah, it's in the middle. Where is it? What kind of a machzor is this? What kind of a siddur is this? Where'd you get us here? Some Sephardi siddur, huh? The Sephardi don't even have it. Well,
I didn't know that.
You knew that? Oh, with real Sephardi?
Yeah, real Sephardi.
Oh. So they want to avoid this problem. Okay. But again, it's not, people make the mistake. Shochein ad, Marom v'Kadosh Shemo. It's not Shochein ad, comma, Marom v'Kadosh Shemo. Okay. Anovali de Yiras Chet. Another brings a person to fear of sin. This is a very lofty fear of sin. This is not simple fear of sin. You're afraid because hell is hot and you're going to burn. This means that the impurity of sin is a constant threat for you, because obviously you're on a very high madrega. You got Ruach HaKodesh already, right? But do you have Ruach HaKodesh yet? No, not yet. But you have Tara, Kedusha, and Anova. So therefore you're afraid of the defiling qualities of sin. So it says, Ekev Anova, as a result of humility, Yiras Hashem, one has fear of God, which means one is careful of deviating from God at all. Right. Just that it is termed as Yiras Chet. I'm not, the Girsa is Yiras Chet. So I'm explaining that here the Yiras Chet is a form of Yiras Romamus. Since you have great awe of Hashem, you don't want to defile that relationship. This is a very famous quote from the Yerushalmi. That which wisdom makes a crown on its head, and its relationship with God, which one can achieve through wisdom, asas anava, humility makes a heel for its soul, S-O-L-E, meaning that chachma, even the highest levels of chachma depicted by a crown, are nothing compared to what could achieve if one is truly humble. In other words, a person who's very smart, there's an implicit haughtiness in that. And haughtiness, of course, is a limitation in one's cognition of others and certainly one's cognition of God. So therefore, that which is a crown by a chacham is the heel by an onav. Kusiv, as it says, Ekev anova yiras Hashem. I skipped. To see if it says Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem, the beginning of Chachma, in other words, the highest magic of Chachma is Yiras Hashem. But it says Ekev Anova Yiras Hashem, the heel of Anova is Yiras Hashem. From there you can go to even much higher madregas. As we say, Yiras Chet brings a person to Ruach HaKodesh, right? Even to divine spirit, not just to intellectual awareness of God, but a direct communication of God. You'll see it says, Oz Tavin Yiras Hashem, when you then understand the fear of God, the Das Elokim, so awareness of God you will have as well, meaning Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh Tidei Chasidus.
This is off on a tangent, but I get the picture of the spirit, intense spirits, and you have the heel.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
This is...
Let's see, 10 spheres are shiur koma. That's what they say. They're corresponding to the figure of a human being, right?
So is it from this Gemara?
No. That's a later interpolation. The Gemara itself never discusses spheres explicitly. Right, it can be associated. Okay. Ruach HaKodesh de Chasidus, Ruach HaKodesh, divine spirit, brings a person to Chasidus. You'll see it says, Oz di barta b'chazon l'chasidecha. You speak in a vision to your Chasidim, meaning that the way the Gemara is dashing it, once you Hashem speaks to you, then you can become a Chasid afterwards. Chasidus lidei tchias hamesim. Chasidus brings to resurrection. You'll see it says, "V'nasati ruchi b'chem v'chiyisem." I'm going to put my spirit within you, and you will arise. So the Ruach is considered to be the Chasidus. A person has the Ruach of Hashem. Tchias hamesim de Eliyahu zichron livracha, and Tchias hamesim brings to Eliyahu. The Chsiv it says, "Inena chi sholech lachem es Eliyahu Navi lifnei bo yom Hashem agorov anora." Hashem sends Eliyahu Navi before the ultimate day of judgment, what happens after Tchias hamesim. Veishiv leivavos abonim. He'll return the hearts of fathers on their children. Leibonim avosam, and vice versa. Tanim Shem Raimeir. Eliyahu. No, he comes before Yom Hashem Agorov Anora.
He was there.
Yom Hashem Agorov Anora is not Tchias hamesim. That's the judgment day. It comes after Tchias hamesim. Okay? Each 5, one of the early ones. Tani b'shem Raimeir. Muna and Ashkafa. Tani b'shem Raimeir. Yes, Tani b'shem Raimeir. I forgot to observe the anniversary. Usually I note the anniversary. This week was 8 years since I started saying Daf Yomi. Kavches Nisan, yes. Tani b'shem Raimeir. Kol mi shekavu b'Eretz Yisrael. Everybody is a very famous Yerushalmi, very Zionistic Yerushalmi. I saw once Rabbi Meir's biography. He was forced at the end of his life to flee to Chutz La'aretz, to Asia, which is Turkey. So, after Bruriah died. So after Bruriah committed suicide. So at that point, you didn't know that? Oh, come on, you knew that. Yeah, Rashi brings it down somewhere in Shas, I forget where. Bruriah committed suicide because she committed adultery. A mayor sent the Talmud to test her, and she failed. And then she committed suicide. So I don't even remember what happened to the Talmud, but that was Bruriah then went to commit suicide. So Meir said, anybody who's a citizen or permanently in Eretz Yisrael, like Dr. Fidel's wife, and eats, she's kavua in Eretz Yisrael, and eats chulin in a state of Tara, Medaber b'lashon HaKodesh, and speaks in Hebrew, v'korei Shema b'boker v'erev, and he reads Shema in the morning and in the evening. That's the life. Muftach lushum chayolam haba. He's promised, he's assured that he is one from those who rise to the world to come. Okay? It's an upstanding life. What? Chulav b'tara ain't so easy anymore. Alright. Halacha dal. Ve'eloin halacha she'omru b'aliyas Chanani ben Chizkiah ben Gora. These halachos which are mentioned in the second floor of Chanani ben Chizkiah ben Gora. Sholu Bakar, when they came out to visit him. What did it say here, Ben Gurion? It is Ben Gurion. I mean, it's certainly the same one. Obviously, the same one. I would assume so. Shaul Levakra, they went up to visit him. V'nimnu, they voted. V'rabu Beishamai Beisil, and Beishamai, there were more students there from Beishamai and Beisil that day. V'shmona asa dvarim gozu bo bayom, and 18 things were decreed on that day. Okay. Also, yom, that day, says the Gemara, Hayakashal Yisrael was difficult for the Jews, kiyom shenas bo'egel, like the day on which the golden calf was made. Why? Because Beis Hillel was overcome by Beis Shammai. Okay? Rabbi Lezer Mer, Bo Bayom Gochu Saseo. Rabbi Lezer was from Beis Shammai. He said that day they added on to the measure. It was a good day. Rabbi Shulas and the students of Beis Hillel said, Omer, Bobaya Machko, so that day they detracted from the measure. It was a bad day. Amalei Rabbi Lezer said, wait a minute, I'll give you a marshal. Eloi Sachasero Malaya Yos. If the measure was missing and they filled it up, is it not good? That's what happened here. What was analogous to L'chavish Malaya goes in. It was as if they filled the barrel full of nuts. Even after you fill a barrel full of nuts, it's still full of sesame seeds, because the sesame seeds goes between the nuts. So he's saying it's true they made certain big chumras, but that's a good thing, because when you fill it, because you have the nuts, try the chumras. You can do some of that to machmir and nuts, right? But you have the nuts and try the chumras, and then besides that, you have room for the sesame seeds. So everything is hunky dory. You make the most effective use of the room. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua said, "Eloi sa malaya v'chisroyos." No, this is analogous to a case where the jug was full. The claim was full, and now they took away from it. Is that good? In other words, it's a question of astonishment. What is this analogous to? This is like a bucket or a barrel full of oil. If you pour in water, the oil spills out. So too, you pour in chumras, right? So then the primary Judaism spills out. So he was upset at all the chumras they decreed on that day. What happened that day? Tan Rabbi Yoshua Unya. Rabbi Shua said, Talmidei Beis Shammai omdu lehem milamato. There was a certain guard of students of Beis Shammai who stood below on the ground, under the second floor. Vayu horagim b'talmidei Beis Hillel, and they would kill the students of Beis Hillel who came. Now, the Mefarshim say it's not literal, right? But if we're literal, it means is that Beis Hillel wanted to go up, and change the vote. Up in the second floor there, over there. So Beis Shammai would not allow them up, in order that they shouldn't change the balance of power, because there were more Beis Shammaites at that time. So that was like what he's saying, that was a very difficult thing, and it was as if they were killing the students of Beis Hillel, because they were standing, they were drawing swords and saying, you guys want to go up? We'll kill you if you go up. Okay? Atani Shishamem Olu. 6 students of Beis Shammai who actually went up. Vashar, the rest, Amdu Aleim b'charovim rachim. They stood against the students of Beis Hillel with swords and with spears. Okay? Tani, we learned, Shmona Asar Davu Gazru, 18 things they decreed. With Shmona Asar Rabu, and in 18 things, the Beis Shammai outvoted Beis Hillel. It's not clear if it's the same 18 things or 18 separate things. Sounds like it might be 18 separate. Ushmona Asar Nechlu, about 18 things they argued, and they didn't find a resolution. Veilu Ein Shagosru. These are their decrees of that day. Now there are 8 in this sequence. 8 of the 10. 8 of the 18. Piton Shalakum, they decreed against the bread of Goyim. Val Gvinosan, on their cheese. Val Shamnan, on their oil. Val Noseim, and not to marry their daughters. Val Shichva Zaron, on their semen, that it's metame. Or say about their urine. Val Ilchus Balkari, and that was all about Goyim. Also, that a Jew becomes a Balkari may not learn Torah. Val Ilchus Saratamim, and the laws which apply to Chutzlarts. What happens in Chutzlarts? Tumah. Right, anybody enters Chutzlarts becomes Tameh, right? That's 10. That's 8. Sorry. Talmud Tzrina, we learned over there, what are the other 10? Elu Posim Asa Truma. These are those who render Truma unfit. Ochel Rishon. Somebody who eats food which is a Rishon and Truma, and then eats Truma, so to Betami the Truma. Right? So somebody who, well, if at the same time you have the truma in your mouth, you have the other stuff in your mouth, that's matame the other stuff. So they made a gzera that even if right now you're not eating it, if you ate a rishon, afterwards you're matame the truma. Okay, lest you come to eat truma at the same time. That's even true if you make ochel sheni, because sheni makes shlishi by truma, right? By truma. There's no sheni, there's no shlishi by chulin. There's only shlishi by truma. Okay, so we go through on that. Vo shows some mashkin tmeim, saying about somebody who drinks beverages which are tummy. Va'bar rosh of ruba mamayim shuvim, somebody who immerses the head and most of his torso in drawn bucket water. The torsh nofla rosh of ruba shlosh lugim mayim shuvim, and somebody upon whom 3 measures of drawn water fell at one time. Va'sefer. A sefer is, of course, a sefer Torah, any Tanakh. V'adat v'yodayim, any type of hands which have not yet been washed. V'atvul yom, and a person's gone to the mikvah but has not yet had Arav Shemesh. V'akil shit v'ochel k'shim v'mashkin. And food and beverages became tummy because it came into result by came into contact with water or any other beverage. Why is that the Rabbanan? What? It was not Moksha. Why is that Moksha Midaraisa? What? Oh, because it's talking about mashkin. Yeah, the carbonator points out mashkin, which are they're only rishon midaraisa. It might even only be sheni. 1 second. Yeah, mashkin means that the carbonator points out later on. Ochli mashkin, which became tamei by Ochli mekalim. Shim mashkin, they became tamei by coming into contact with liquids. Liquids themselves became tamei coming into contact with sheret. It's not mayonos azav, right? It's not the saliva of azav or anything. So therefore, what is this liquid at best? Rishon. Touch a sheretz, which is an ab, so it's a rishon. But an ochel came and amatami, other ochel came the rice only midrabona. It can't. So this mashke, ochel mashke, keep saying ochel mashke can't be matami midraisa, only midrabona. Other ochel mashke. So if that's the case, this mashkin, which falls on the keli or the ochel, it can't be matami midraisa. It's only a rishon. Rishon's not also sheni, unless it's an odom. Unless it's an odom. So therefore, here the fact that it's matame is midrabanan. I think I'm not making that up. No, I'm not making up most of it. The thing is that whether rishon is matame, I think it's not matame person midaraisa either. It's only matame truma midaraisa, not matame anything else. Well, let me stick with that because I think that's true. Midaraisa rishon tuma is only matame truma. Midrabanan or rishon tuma is matame anything, which is anything which can be makabel tuma, right? Including Odom and Kalim, which normally would not be Makabel Tumah except from an Ava Tumah. I'm pretty sure about that. That makes sense? No? No, you have a blank look. I know the look on his face. Ochlin u'mashkin are not Matami fellow Ochlin u'mashkin. The only time it might work is by Truma. but they made a gzeirah rabbanon. Mashkin are metame ochel and kalim. Even kalim. Special gzeirah kosav on mashkin. Why? Because you were afraid you might get mixed up with what? Zav byproducts. Saliva, mucus, all that kind of stuff from a zav. So if they made mashkin metame, even though Mida writes it's not metame. Okay? That's a ochlin akim shibu mashkin. Now that's 10. Okay, we had 8 and then we had 10. Rabbanan the Kesar Amru, Elu shegazru mimasha rabu shiva inu. There are only 7 gzeros, which were made, which are 7 gzeros which were made, in which there was a count. Okay? 7 they voted. And the other 11, they didn't vote on. The other 11 were made, I mean, there was a vote, but there was no not low blue. There's no minority. No difference of opinion. There's no difference of opinion.
Unanimous.
It was unanimous, right? Okay. My tongue is tied tonight. So Rabbanan gets there are 7 which they voted on. There's a difference of opinion, and Beis Shammai won. And these are the other 11, on which there are no votes. Somebody who got dark at night on his way home on Friday night, and guess what he has in his pocket? Mm-hmm. Well, they made a takana. He can't carry his wallet home. Even pachos mi'arba amos, he has to give it to a goy to take over for him. That's one of the Yudches Dover. And also, this is he's got to give his wallet to a goy. Similarly, that a zav should not eat together with a zava, because they're not allowed to engage in hanky-panky besides the tumah stuff. This is something which we just had in Masechta Nida not so long ago. That if a rod is not a tefach wide, but it has a circumference of a tefach, it creates an oel. Any recollection of that? A very obscure halacha. Normally, in order to be an oel for tumah, what do I need? A tefach, right? It would be a tefach across. But let's say this whole thing was a tefach in circumference, which means that what's the diameter? Approximately. What's the diameter? Pi. One third. Yes. Right. So it's 1/3 of it. The circumference is no, it's pi 2r, not pi r squared. Pi 2r, 2r, which is the diameter. 2r equals d. Okay. No recollection. So do I, but there's certain basics which one has to remember. Pi r squared might be the formula for area, if I remember correctly. Okay, in any event, listen, I never took anything more advanced than trigonometry. And trigonometry I managed to forget completely. Some of my geometry I retain. Alright. So in any event, so if you have, in other words, here's a good example. This might be a third of a tefach across. It probably isn't, but it's a third of a tefach across. If it was, as long as the circumference was a tefach, right? If I peeled it off, so then that's enough to make a oel v'tumah. Okay. In case of botrim beis hapras, the procedure to harvest grapes which grow in a field, which is a suffix if there's a cemetery or not. That's called beis hapras. So a certain procedure, the coordinator brings it down. That's one of the Yudches Dover. I'm not going to get into it right now. Also, there's a case which is discussed, which is where you put a keli under a downspout in order to catch the rain, whether you then can take the water from that keli just by inverting the keli so it flows into the water, make a mikveh. Okay, and we paskin not that way. You have to specifically use water which never entered a bucket. Even if it entered a bucket inadvertently, it already passes the water from use in the mikveh. Okay? Did you know that? The rice and mikveh water could have been in a bucket as long as no human being lifted it?
I have the Gemara about making a channel, like a funnel or something that was...
Right, that's this kind of case.
I thought that was allowed.
That's allowed after you have a majority of rainwater, not under all circumstances. Al Shisha Seikos Sarfin Es Truma. And these are 6 of the 11, that for 6 Feikos you burn Truma. What's the Feikos? For 6 questionable things. On Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Bun. Oh, wait, he doesn't bring it down, but the Korban Eider brings down what the 6 are. I'm not going to bore you because it would bore me, but there are 6 of them. I'm Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Bun. Af Gidulei Truma. They also made a decree on that day that Gidulei Truma, if you plant Truma in the ground, so Midoraisa it's Batel the Truma. But Rabbanan assumed that said that even once the new crop grows, it's considered to be Truma. We had this in Masechta Trumos. So that's what you chazdavar. Why is that? So people shouldn't, once their Truma becomes Tomei, they shouldn't replant it in the ground as an eitzah to get it, oitz Tomei. And so you just have the seed is still truma. Okay, so seed is still truma and truma tmeya, right? Elaine should go through Elaine Asura Kadmaiso. These are the first 10 of the takonos. Bashar and the rest of the takonos, the rest of the 18. Nimad the Torah Rishim Beracham now which Rishim Berachai taught us. Bo Bayon Gazra Piton that they made the Gzeir on Pasakum on the bread of a goy, Al Gvineim on their cheese, Val Yenav on their wine, Val Chumtam on their vinegar, Val Tiran on their fish brine, Val Mursan, I forgot what that is. It's Mursan. It's another type of pickling juice, isn't it? What is it? Doesn't say. Some salad dressing of some sort. Val kibushayan on their pickles. Val shuken. That's kutach, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is. Yogurt is kutach. Then in yogurt is kutach. Are you coming back tomorrow morning? We only did an omelet today. First 2 dots at the top.
Eliminating any opposition.
Too much halach l'maisa today. Okay. Val shluk al kibushem and stuff which is pickled. Val shlukim stuff which they cooked. Val shmeluchein and shaluk is very much cooked. Meluchein stuff which they salted. Val achilka it's a type of fish. Val shchika ground up food because we don't know where they put in treif. Val tisnein a type of beaten wheat. Val shoinon on their language. Val edusan and on their, in other words, you're not supposed to speak goyish. Val edusan. What? On their testimony.
You only supposed to speak Yiddish. You couldn't speak the language of the.
So you don't know. See, Dr. Spinell knows all my stories, but you don't know all of them yet. So I can tell them to you. Once Once I was, some of them we forget, so I can tell them over. Once I was, I edited many years ago an English journal. Not a journal, well, it's a newsletter in Farakwe. So we went to the local Rebbe to give Hungarian Rebbe to give him a sample. So he says, you compliment us, he said it's a very nice job. But he said, the truth is, the problem with it is that you wrote it in English. Now, he spoke a very good English, but he said, I'm medaf read in English. Medaf read not zu brochener English. Now, this is a tremendous chiddush for me at the time, because I had thought the reason why Chassidim spoke Yiddish was because they were illiterate. Right? They never learned proper English. I had not realized that it's actually a philosophical objection to speaking good English. And when it has to speak a broken English, zu sein anders wie der Goyim. But that really is the case, and that really is what it says here. At least according to the Korbanei, it says Al-Shoino means there are guys that one shouldn't speak in foreign languages. So the Korbanei, the Pnei Moshe argues with him. He says that Al-Shoino and Al-Iduson go together. On their language, which they speak in, their legal language, which they speak in their courts, and to testify in their courts, or for them to testify for you, that's forbidden. Okay? We don't accept anything to do with their testimony. Ba'al Nosein, one is not allowed to give them gifts. Ba'al Nosein, and on their daughters. Ve'al Bikurein, and on their Bikurim, or I should say Bikuros, according to the Korbanei, which says what? The Pnei Moshe says Bikurein means their children, like a Bechor, and it means that their children were considered to be Zavim, right from an early age. It means to marry their sons and daughters. And then you have their children means that their children are Tamei. Okay? The Pnei Moshe, the Korbanei says that means that if you sell your land to guys, you have to bring Bikurim from that land. We had that back in Zroim. You should go and redeem it as quickly as possible. Okay? Now we're going to analyze this. Pizza, and going back to their bread. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch B'Shem Rabbi Yona's son said, Meiluchos shel imumu. This is one of those halachos which are unclear. We haven't had this in a while. We had this already, though. I forget. It's the beginning of Zroim somewhere. What? Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi said, Koshisi kami Rabbi Yossi. As for Rabbi Yossi, kumi Rabbi Yaakov Baruch. Ma'u milchos shalimu. What does it mean? The halachos which are unclear. Kachan Omri. Is this what we say? B'mokum shepasi schoel mitzuya. Where there is prevalent Jewish bread, b'tinu shetei pasakum asura. It would have been proper to make non-Jewish bread also to eat, right? And they garbled the halach, or they mumbled it. V'tu, and they were matirit, right? Because that was how they just like kind of muttered under their breath. It's okay. B'mokum means b'mokum she'ein pas Yisrael mitzuya, where they machmir, not Michael. It's a place where the Jewish bread is not prevalent. Can't find Jewish bread. B'dinu shetei pasak muteres. There we should say that non-Jewish bread is muter. Maybe that which they left unclear is that they forbade the pasakum even in a place where there is no pas Yisrael. Okay, maybe that's what happened. Or Ramona said, "Is such a thing as garbling the halach in order to achieve a chumrah? Garbling the halach in order to achieve a kula, I understand, but in order to achieve a chumrah, says the Gemara, upas laptav shiliakumu. I'll prove to you that there is imum l'chumrah. How so? Because bread, isn't it tavshiliakum? Afterwards, the goy cooked it, right? It's part of breaking it, right? So, am I? Okay. Makam she'ein elakinim. I lost my place. Oh, yeah, okay. So, I'll prove to you that we can say imamula hachmir. In a case where there aren't too many Jewish dishes, b'dinu shetei haya shutav sheliyakum mutar. There you should have allowed the goyim to cook. V'imu aleh, and there it says they were garbled halacha v'asrum. So we see that you can have a case where it's to the detriment, right? To be machmir, right? Assuming that machmir is a detriment, right? El kini, rather this is the way to read it. Malkum shein basis from Mitzuya. In a case where there is no Jewish bread prevalent, bedinu shetei pasaku masura. Still, the bread of a non-Jew should be also. The mu'aleh, but they garbled it, bitirua, and they were matir b'nei chayin nevish because of the necessity of keeping up one's life. Rabbana the case B'Shem Rabbi Yaakov Baracha said, Kedivrei Shmi shehu matir, where there is no Jewish bread, allowed to take Jewish bread, Goyish bread. Uvamina palter, but as long as it comes from a baker, and not from where? Not from a private individual, not from a Baal Bus, right? You can't take bread even in a city where it's necessary to take from a goy. You can't take from a Baal Bus. Okay? Because it's not believed to say they didn't put in anything in trade. Uman is, but not the Baal Bus. Yeah, let me just start a line before. However, says the Gemara and the Farshim will explain. People didn't follow this takana de Rabbanan. Interesting thing. There's a takana de Rabbanan only from the palter. But what do people do? They even take from the Baal Bata. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Okay? So some things don't change. Amr Koi Rabbi Chia Ruba, they said of Rabbi Chia the Great. Tanir Shemil Chai says, Ochel Tishbru Meitom Ba'Kesef. You should buy food from them with silver Ba'Chaltem and eat. V'gamayim, and also water. Tichru Meitom, you should buy from them. The gourmet, etc. So it says, what were the terms? Ma mayim shlo nishtanu, just like water doesn't change mi briyoso. Av kol davar shlo nishtane mi briyoso. So to anything which hasn't changed from its natural state. Yeah, I remember. Pnei Moshe says it's not relevant to us directly. It's relevant to Bishul Akum. Once we're talking about Pas Akum, though, which left along Bishul Akum. What's the allusion to Bishul Akum in the pasuk? It says, Ochel. What Ochel can you buy from them? Ochel, which is similar to mayim. Just like mayim is not processed, the food is not processed. That's how you learn from that you're allowed to have food at any affair, which is not processed, even if cooked by a goy. No.
What do you mean by process? You mean salad?
Not reverse process. They're not reverse the wrong word. Not a structural change process, right? Shaloni shtanu.
So cooking is
like a carrot, right? Well, they don't cook salads. This is not a good example, though.
When you cook something, you do change the structural components of it.
That's true, but that's still there's only a certain level. It becomes visible to the naked eye, and that's called nishtana briyasa. Okay? So, invited to see him tonight. Yes, okay. Am I not making myself clear? Carrots, canned carrots are mutter because of bishul akum, because they get raw. They're not called nishtana briyasa. Not just canned carrots, canned peas, canned corn, anything which doesn't change. So that's what it says. It's edible, raw and cooked the same way. So that's what it means. Ochel bakeset tishbru mehem v'achaltem umayim tichru mehem u'shesisem. Just like water, it doesn't change. It's the same water, cooked or raw, right? So too, the same thing is true.
The fact that you can eat it raw means that you can also eat it cooked by a good.
That's right. Okay, this is of course an asmachta, because bishul akum is one of the yudches dover, right? So the 18 there, but we're learning after this pasuk. Okay.
Do we ask him?
What other answer? Didn't think about it, huh? Veitivun, they asked the kasha. Besides things which are the same, raw and cooked, mutalya and pankrisim and kuftios and kloyos v'chamin sholan and the hot water of the kloyos, harei mutar. They're all mutar. The truth is, they all make sense. So you can soak them, ulachzir, and put them back, moshoya, meaning they don't change in their essential character. But kloyos, what about kloyos, lama, with toasted grain? Why is there no bishul akum by that? The chorah changed, it can't be changed back. Some rabbis were b'mishem rav, kol ochel shunechel k'mo shu chai. Anything that could be eaten raw, ein bo mishum b'tavshil yakum. It doesn't have bishul akum, even though it changed when it's cooked. In other words, the grain changes. But since it could be eaten raw, so therefore there's no bishul akum by it. Okay? Despite that, if somebody did cook it, you can use a prayer of tavshilin, which is interesting, because erev tavshilin is supposed to use a cooked dish, right? But even though a goy cooked it, you can still use it. Why? Because it's a cooked dish vis-a-vis erev tavshilin. But on the other hand, it's not a cooked dish to the extent that bishul akum is going to answer it. Okay? Says more further. What is Rebbe Chia the Great do with the pasuk of Ochel Tishbru Meitam? It sounds like there's no bishul akum issue, right? And he held that there was a bishul akum issue. He said that it has to be something which didn't change in its nature. Well, let me make that clear. Rebbe Chia said it has to be something which doesn't change in its nature at all. Right? So what's the problem with that? The pasuk says it can change as long as it's still edible the same way before and after, right? So what does he do with that? So says the Gemara, what does he do with the pasuk? So Mamakai Rechia Baruba, he used the pasuk for a different drasha. Says Ochel Tishbru Meitam. Food you should buy from them. He darshan that. But Ochel Tishbaru, if you give them food, you'll break them. Acheltu, you gave him teeth. Shavarto, you broke it. Why is that? Shemiyakosha lecha ka'ochel. If it was difficult to you, ka'ochel t'shaberu, like food, you should break them down. Now, what does this mean by this? What does it mean that you break them down by food? I don't know exactly. I forgot. What does he say, Taka? He says here, I have it underlined. If you take a look in the last narrow line in the Carbon Ada, by giving him to eat from your food, Tishaber Libo Arel, his coarse heart will be broken. You'll see that it says if your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. So a very interesting thing here, which we're saying. We're saying that if you want to kill your Yetzer Hara, you want to kill your Yetzer Hara, what?
Your Yetzer Hara. It's killing. It's getting rid of it. It's for Darkei Show. Being nice to the guy.
What do you mean?
In a time of need, when the guy is desperate, you're giving him food. So
yeah, but not doing it for the purpose of the guy. What do you just mean? You're breaking the goyim.
You're breaking their...
By giving them to eat.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
You're breaking down their hatred of him. That's the way I'm interpreting it.
Well, that's what it means?
It's Darkei Show. You're doing something for the goy. You're doing a toy for the goy. And as a result, the goy is going to think good about you.
Oh, now? Okay, sure. Be down a second. You're right. Name Moshe says like you. The Korban I thought means break him. No, I see what you mean. They also Korban says Tishaber Libo Orel. Okay. If you can't do that, of course, him love kesef, so bribe it. What? That never fails. I mean, Cain have a Rabbi Yonasan. That's Rabbi Yonasan used to. Karav Chami Barnash Rab Oil Kard. We see a great man come to the city, meaning a great guy. Have Mashalach Ikrin. He would send him presents of food. My Omar, what did he say? Dein have a dying Yosef. He comes in. He has to judge a orphan or a dying armalo or a widow. Nishkach Apin Mefaise Love. So he'll be Mefaise. He'll come around to our way of thinking. All right, if we have time before Marv, we'll go on, but I have to see.
Didn't you say something that you're not supposed to give the goy gifts?
Only if you don't have anything to gain from it. Right, but here that's lo sochanim, but here you have to what to gain from it.